Hi there, I'm Crista Grasso, founder of the Lean Out Method and host of the Lean Out Your Business podcast. Today, we are going to be diving in and talking about the areas of waste in your business that keep you working way harder than you need to and investing time on things that just simply don't matter. Tune in while we talk all about how to simplify your business so you can scale a whole lot faster.
Welcome to the Business Growth Architect Show. I am Beate Chelette. I am the host. I want to welcome you to our globally top 10% ranked podcast, where you will hear from industry experts about the strategies that are working right now to unlock hidden opportunities in any market so that you can grow your authority and scale your impact. And now let's get started with the show. Welcome back. This is your host, Beate Chelette, and this is the Business Growth Architect Show. Today, we are not going to lean in. Today, we are going to lean out with Crista Grasso from the Lean Out Method. Crista, I'm so excited to have you.
I'm so excited to be here. Can't wait to chat today.
Exactly. So the first question, needless to say, I'm going to have to ask. I'm not leaning in, I'm leaning out. What is that? And what does it even mean?
Absolutely. So it actually has absolutely nothing to do with the book Lean In, nothing whatsoever. Lean, for any of your listeners who may not know, is really about increasing value and eliminating waste. So you always want to be focused on value in your business, and you don't want to have any unnecessary complexity, any unnecessary waste. So what most businesses need to do is they need to lean out. They need to get all the waste out of their business so that they can have more value internally in the form of profit and more value for their clients.
So now that is like somebody just rang a bell and it's like ding, 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 ding. So here's the thing. What do you think happens as we are growing the business? And you and I, we had a conversation in the green room just before we started to go live about waste. What is waste in a business, and what do business owners do that they should not be doing?
How many hours and days do we have? So
Truly.
I'll break it down to some essentials. So first of all, if you think about waste is really anything that you are investing time, money, or energy and focus into that's not providing profit for the business or value for your clients. It's really just, if you think about how precious the resources are that you have in a business, especially in a small business, you want to know that you're going to get the best possible return and that you're investing those things in the best things right now. Waste is anything that's not that. And as I've gone through and really worked really closely with a lot of coaching and consulting and service-based businesses as they're scaling, I've picked up on 10 core areas that I see people wasting a lot of time and a lot of money in their business, which keeps them from the profits that they want. And it keeps them working way harder than they need to with a whole lot more complexity than they need in the business.
So why does a business owner create that kind of complexity?
If you think about back to the early days when you first launch your business, the nature of what we do, where we're trying to find our product market fit and we're trying to find that right thing for the right person at the right price, is we tend to say yes to a lot of things. We're in a place where we're naturally adding, well, let's try this. How did that work? Let's try this. How did that work? And so it's a more place of business. Eventually we hit product market fit. And what we tend to do, which isn't what we should do, but we've built this muscle of saying yes to all the things and trying all the things and doing all the things. So we just, in the effort of trying to grow, continue to add, and we don't take the time to subtract out the things that are no longer needed or the things that aren't actually going to get us where we want to go next in the business. And so I think in the nature of first trying to find our footing in business and start to build a profitable business, we just build a muscle of constantly saying yes and adding complexity into our business. And we never usually pause long enough to take the time to recognize what we actually need to keep doing. And we aren't really intentional with our time, which causes us to overwork, and it causes us to end up in a place of overwhelm and frequently burnout.
I could not agree with you more. I have this thing where I looked at the internet marketing world, right, with all the big internet marketers, and I realized that the whole system is built up have you want one more thing. Let's say you do the product launch and then you realize you still need to hack your funnel. And then you realize you still need to speak from stage because you need to get the leads. Then you still need to learn how to sell from stage, but not before you learn how to make an offer from stage. And so next thing you know, you are in program after program after program. And it's always that next thing, the one more thing that you really need to be doing. So what I'm hearing you say is that you help people to really catch themselves as they're going down this rabbit hole. You have something that's called a waste assessment. That's probably what you just mentioned, like the 10 points. Will you give us a little bit of an outline what that is? Like, is it basically a diet, a business owner diet of some sort?
Well, if you let's think about what waste is in a different dimension of what we've talked about so far, is really it's anything that's not in alignment with the vision of where you're trying to go in your business. If we start at that really broad sense, typically there's a lot of things that we invest our time in that aren't things that we should be doing at all. Then the next level of that is maybe there are things that we could be doing, like the example that you gave. There's always something we could do. There's always something we could learn. There's always one more skill or thing that we could do to optimize or add into the business. Well, how do you make the strategic decisions about what the right ones are to do, the best ones are to do, and avoid all the noise and that pressure that, like, are you missing out if you're not trying this new thing or doing this new thing? And so in the waste assessment, what we look at is what is your vision for your business? Where do you want to take things? And what do you have that is in alignment with that? And where can we just really quickly recognize a lot of stuff that can go that you just did because you kind of musted or shoulded yourself based on things that people told you, oh, well, you should have this, but it really doesn't fit for you. It doesn't fit for what you want. So we look at that. We look at your business model. And is your business model aligned for you? Is it aligned with that vision that you have? And then we dig into the 10 specific areas where there tends to be a lot of waste in the business. But the first two, looking at your vision and then looking at your supporting business model, those frequently get at the area of unnecessary complexity as well as the area of unneeded work, which are two of the areas of waste that show up in business.
So I love what you said about this. So I had made my mantra last year, simplify. And there is a emotional component to letting things go. There is a part about where we have put time, sweat, money, and a lot of effort into building something. And then suddenly you tell me I'm being wasteful. How do I let go? Because I bet you run into this all the time, that people then argue with you on why it is still important, even though it's clear it's not.
Absolutely. So the lean out method has 4 pillars, and it's context, clarity, commitment, and Kaizen. Context is your vision and your business model. Clarity is what are the right things to be focused on right now. And that usually means you're recognizing the things that need to go. And then your commitment is actually committing to let go of the things that you said you were going to let go of and continuing to stay focused on the ones that you recognized as being most important. And what I tell people all the time is the hardest pillar of every single one of them is commitment, because what will happen is you'll walk out of a session and you'll say, absolutely, you're right. This is what I should be focused on. I know this is the right thing. I know I need to let this go. And then 5 minutes later, 5 days later.
But Crista, wait, yes, do I really have to?
I call it the yeah buts. The yeah buts always, yeah, I know I said, but yeah, but, and so the yeah buts always come. They come for me. They come for my clients. They come all the time. They will absolutely come for those of you listening. And so I think at the end of the day, it always has to go down to why are we doing what we're doing? I'm a really big fan of why before what. And so it's great to have our strategies. It's great to know what we're going to be doing. It's great to know what we're going to be focused on. But why are we doing what we're doing? I believe everything we do in business is to live a rich, fulfilled life. A facet of that is the work you do in your business. It includes your vision. It includes your values. It includes the lifestyle you want to live. There's a lot of different facets to it. And I think if we can go back to why we're doing what we're doing, what's important to us, what's the legacy we want to leave, or what's the impact that we want to make, whether it's in our industry or just in our world, our family, whatever that ends up looking like, I think if we can take ourselves back to that, we can get into the yeah, but then we can rewind and say, but when I really think about my rich, fulfilled life, I get that this isn't the thing I need to be doing right now. And so I think we have to go back and forth and give ourselves the space to feel the yeah buts, because they're going to come. But I think if we can reground ourselves in why we made that decision, was it really the right decision? And if it was, we just need to remind ourselves of that. But the other thing, and I'll give you an example because I have 3 businesses, and the reality is I can't spend time on all three businesses at the same time. It's just not feasible unless I want to work more than I am willing to work. And so I had to make a decision this year to not put time on one of my businesses because my other business is in a period of scaling right now. And so what I did is I allow myself a couple hours a week to kind of play in that business. I give myself a little bit of space to purely be able to do what I want to do, not tied to any particular outcome. So I still get some kind of personal enjoyment and satisfaction from that. But I have made the business decision not to be focused on that business, not to be selling products, not to be really doing anything in that business other than just creative thought leadership and play. And so sometimes we just need to give ourselves that space in a period of time and give ourselves the option to circle back if the time becomes right in the future, which it may or may not ever be the right time in the future.
So I want to talk to you right after this quick break about how do you mentally do that. So stay with us. We will be right back. Are you looking for the hidden opportunities for you in this market? Or are you simply wanting to figure out what is your unique differentiation factor that makes clients want to work with you and not your competitors? If this resonates, I want to invite you to go to uncoverysession.com and schedule your 15-minute complimentary uncovery session with one of our business growth advisors that will take you through what your number one business growth blocker is, what you can do to remove it, and what your very best next step should be. And now let's get back to the show. Beate Chelette here with Crista Grasso from the Lean Out Method. And we were just talking about you having this ridiculous ability to just go ahead and say, I am going to set a priority here. I'm going to give myself permission to doodle or to engage more in thought leadership than in actual doing. Do you have any advice for us if we find ourselves in the push for more mode? How do we stop ourselves and become like you?
A lot of patience with yourself. So I am your classic high achiever. I mean, good luck pulling me away from my computer when I am excited about a project and I am all in and working on it. And I've had to really, really learn over the years that as much as I enjoy my work, as much as I enjoy what I do, it's actually not good for my rich, fulfilled life if I literally spend 18 hours on the computer every day. Not a smart thing to do, no matter how excited I am about a project or how fired up I am about a project. So I have just had to learn how to play to my own strengths. And each of you listening has your own strengths and how you like to work best. And I think it's tapping into what that is for you. For me, I work best in focus blocks. And I love working in focus blocks because not only do I get more done in less time, but it helps me be really discerning with what I'm investing my time in. If I'm going to take 2 to 3 hours and put it on something, I'm not going to put that time on something that's not important. If we don't have that intentionality around a block of time, it's easy to waste 2 or 3 hours doing little tiny things here and there. But if you go into a block of time with a lot of intentionality, you make really strategic decisions. And because I like to work in focus blocks, what I have learned is I use focus blocks for things like self-care. I use focus blocks for things like play and innovation and thought leadership. And so it's just simply how I play to my strengths and structure my day. So I build my schedule with blocks for the things that are most important to me. And that concept may work for you. It may not. I think it's just a matter of how do you work best and how can you structure your days to support that?
I think that's a very powerful way to do things. Now, on this podcast, the entire premise is how do you build your authority? What's the strategy you use to build your authority? So you're now talking about a reduction strategy on how to do that. So how does reducing waste help me to build my authority so I can scale my impact?
Absolutely. If you have waste in your business, you have noise. And if you have noise, your authority is not being heard. Your authority is not being clear. And so I think you do want to be lean in what you do, right? Lean, eliminate waste, increase value. How can you focus on quality over quantity? How can you make sure you're kind of building your authority with that laser focus on the things that are most important and most valuable? And you're getting rid of any noise and distraction that's going to dilute that for you. So I think to me, that's really the key. If we take content, for example, you could pump out multiple pieces of content all day, every day, but if But if you're talking about different things all the time and you're never really going deep, you're never really being differentiated, you're just doing quantity over quantity over quantity, you might get noticed, but it's really hard to build authority. Most people would just get lost in the noise. But if you put out some really strategic, intentional content, you go really deep, you have a differentiated point of view, you really stand out as a thought leader, all of a sudden you become the go-to person and you're the person people are asking to come and speak on things and do things. And so I think it really does come down to being lean, being focused, and just being super intentional with what you do.
I think that there's two things I'm taking away here now. So number one, I want to make a differentiation for our listeners, for our beehive. Is so number one, when, in my world, we create signature growth systems. So we take knowledge and we put it under one umbrella so that it sounds like one cohesive system. That's different than doing different things. So if you have a client transformation journey within your area of expertise, that's just a client transformation journey. So when people say get rich in the niche, it's not that you have to pick one piece of the client transformation journey. You can, and you do the same thing, Crista. So you help them with different things. You help them with the people, the hierarchy. We help them with eliminating waste. You help them with the scaling plan. You do different things, but you have one umbrella over it. Everybody says get rich in the niche, and I don't want to. And I look at it like, well, it's a cohesive system. You just don't call it a system versus over diversifying. Where are you on this?
Yeah, I agree with you fully. So I call it your ecosystem, which is, I think, exactly what you're saying. And there's a big difference, right? If you've got a really, really great offer suite, everything naturally tends to fit together. It helps people solve problems more deeply based on where they're at in their customer journey. You're not helping somebody make jewelry over here, which is one of my businesses, but you don't hear me talk about that in relation to lean out method. And then you're helping them build a business strategy and scale their non-jewelry business over here, right? They're two completely different things. It doesn't make sense. And I see a lot of people doing this. They just take all of the things they love and they just talk about all of it. But there is nothing that threads it all together. There's no ecosystem around it. And that's when it can feel like noise and your voice can get a little bit lost. But if you're within that ecosystem and you're helping someone along and you're really clear on that customer journey, then I think you can talk about different things just as I do, just as I'm sure you do. And I think that actually helps because you're still in authority in a particular area, even if you go deeper into different facets of that.
I love the way you said that. And you're absolutely correct. It doesn't matter what you call it, on whether it's your system or ecosystem or whatever it is, but every business, especially now with the influx of tens of thousands of new coaches, consultants, and experts in the market. If you don't have a differentiation factor, if you are a life coach, a business coach, or consultant, I don't even know how anybody would be attracted to you. Then you have started the race to the bottom of this. What would you tell our audience and say, here's how you start to simplify this. Here's how you start to remove complexity. Is there any advice you can share with us, please?
Yeah, if there's absolutely one takeaway that I would give is to go back and revisit your vision. And when I look at vision, I do vision across three facets. I think there's obviously the vision for your business itself in the future, but there's also your personal vision because we're very tied to our business. And there's the lifestyle you want to live, there's the amount you want to work, there's the role that you want to have in your business, and the type of work you want to be doing in the future in your business. But the piece that I see missing a lot from vision that I think is really important is your clients of tomorrow. So look to the future for the clients that you're working with as well. And how are they different? How are their needs different? Is your client growing and evolving with you so your offers need to grow and evolve with them? Or are you serving like a startup market where you're always attracting new people? That's going to have a big impact on what you're doing. And so I think if you can get that clarity of vision, then just take a look at, are you doing things that are in support of that? Is your business model in support of that? Or are you doing a lot of legacy stuff because you feel like you should, or because you used to and you're too scared to let it go and finally move on from it? Like, are the things you're doing going to take you where you want to go? And it's very rare that I find someone who does not have some things that they can cut, which will give you back time. It will help you eliminate complexity, and it will give you enough momentum to be able to move forward and continue to eliminate the rest of the waste that slows you down from growth and scaling.
I have a personal question for you. So judging by, what I perceive your personality type to be, would it be a fair assessment to say that there was a point where more was what you were doing, more and more and more. What did you do to stop yourself from doing more, but doing less and doing it better? There had to be something.
Oh, it did. Yeah, it was. So I had launched my jewelry business back in the early 2000s. I scaled it very, very quickly, and I scaled it through hustle. I worked around the clock. I ended up in a point where my marriage almost ended. I had an ulcer. I was really sick. I had a lot of health issues. I burned myself out really, really badly. And at the same time, my business was struggling. I was trying to figure out what to do in the business. I couldn't work any harder. There literally were not any more hours in the day to work. And I realized I needed to do something different. And that was actually the birth of the lean out method. That was where the entire method that I work with today came from. But also it was in that, I'll say, like rock bottom, if you will, pivot point, if you will, that I just realized my natural tendencies go in that direction. And so I needed to put things in place for myself to protect myself from myself so that I was setting myself up for success. And I also, just from a mindset perspective, had to accept that hard work does not equal success. Smart work equals success. And sometimes that smart work is you're rolling up your sleeves and putting in the hours. Sometimes that smart work is you're making the right strategic decisions. But I really did have to focus on how could I be really intentional with what I'm doing, make sure I'm doing the right things, making sure I'm keeping things lean instead of just continuing to do more until I get myself so burnt out that I'm going to fail or my business is going to fail because of the health of the business or the health of myself. So it was very much a lesson learned.
There were multiple things. So there was a physical aspect, but you also had to shift your mindset into the belief. I think I'm so excited that I get to talk to you about this because you and I were like kind of very similar, I think, in that. And I find myself in life at different points in my career. I just keep getting back to that, working harder, working more, taking my self-esteem out of my work because it's so gratifying, then being angry at myself if it doesn't, then not being able to work more, not being able to take the time off, telling myself I'm building this. How do we maneuver this double binding message that we are just constantly bombarded with? What did you do?
So I put into place something that I call capacity-based planning. And so again, I think it's all about knowing yourself and knowing your personal strengths. And I found for me to work really well, I have a certain amount of hours that I should work each week. And so like I need to create space. I need to create my focus blocks for self-care and time with family and going to concerts and doing the things that fuel me outside of my work because I will fill that space with work otherwise. So when I do my planning, which is a key part of how I am intentional with my work, I look at how many hours I want to work and I make decisions about what I'm going to do within that time. And I think that's the key because if we don't do that, we will work more than we intend because we just have this list of things to do. And there's, well, I mean, I guess I can just slide that in and get it done.
More.
I mean, I don't need to sleep tonight at 10 o'clock, right? And so I think to me, I only commit to the things that I know I can get done within the time I have. And do things come out of left field and throw that out of whack sometimes? Absolutely. It's called life. But generally speaking, that keeps me much more protective of my schedule and much more intentional with what I do with my time.
God, I love it. Well, I am so thankful that you have been so unbelievably open and willing to share with our beehive all the things that you have gone through personally and what you have learned. So somebody listening to this interview and saying, I must lean out with Crista, where should we send them?
Absolutely. You can find me on my website at leanoutmethod.com. And if you want to dive into those 10 areas of waste, you can actually go to leanoutmethod.com/waste and grab the guide, which will take you deep dive into all 10 areas to see which ones you have in your business.
I love that. Yes. So speaking from personal experience and as somebody who has unsubscribed from probably over 200 lists this year and gotten rid of subscriptions and things that while I've invested in them at some point, I've realized, they're no longer necessary. Through the purge I have gone myself. I will tell you, if you're listening and you're hearing this, this is not a coincidence. It means that you probably are being called to something right now, and that is to focus your efforts, get rid of the waste, lean out of all the stuff that's not producing results. Crista, it's been phenomenal to have you on the podcast. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
And that's it for us today. Thank you so much for listening or watching. This is Beate Chelette, the Business Growth Architect, and goodbye. Thank you for listening to or watching the show. We are so excited that you're here and we are very grateful for you. Now it's our turn to ask you for help. Please do share this episode with one other person that needs to hear what we were talking about today. If there's any question you have about business, please do reach out to us and let us know. And don't forget to schedule your complimentary Uncovery session at uncoverysession.com, where one of our business growth advisors will help you to figure out what your number one business growth blocker is in only 15 minutes. And that's it for us today. Until next time.